Hello, my name is Brecken Denler, and I'm the president of the Harvard Federalist Society. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to SOC Sidebar, brought to you by the Federalist Society Student Division and the Harvard Federalist Society. Each month, the Student Division and a rotating student chapter will host a Zoom discussion called SOC Sidebar, featuring a judge being interviewed by a student chapter president about that judge's passion, hobby, or interest, and how it interrelates with the law. Our fourth SOC sidebar features Judge Tim Tymkovich, who will discuss skiing. Judge Timothy of Denver, Colorado, was nominated to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals by President George W. Bush and confirmed in April 2003. On October 1st, 2015, he became the chief judge and held that position until October 2022. Since 2008, he has been an adjunct professor of law at the University of Colorado, teaching election law. He is also a member of the Doyle Inn of Court and the American Law Institute and the International Society of Barristers. Since he joined the court, Judge Timkovich has hosted judicial delegations from Russia, Kazakhstan, and Afghanistan, and he has represented the United States in programs in Kyiv and Yalta in Ukraine. Thank you very much, Judge, for being here.
Thank you, Brecken. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a joy to have you. I will just note for our participants, our viewers, at the end of this evening's discussion, we will open the floor for questions from you, the audience. In order to ask a question, you must be logged in as a participant in the Zoom webinar and use the Zoom Q&A feature to submit your questions. But we are accepting questions now, and I encourage you to submit them throughout our discussion as they come. But great, Judge. Let's get started. So you have the reputation as kind of the judge on the bench who skis. How does a reputation like that come along?
Well, I hope we have a full evening to discuss that topic. And I too was a founder of a Federalist Society chapter and the first president of the University of Colorado Federalist chapter in 1982. So I've been attending these events for a long time, and it's a real treat for me now to appear on the FedSoc sidebar, which I think is a pretty cool innovation. Well, you asked me, why am I the skiing judge? I think there's a lot of skiing judges out there, but when I came on the court in 2003, I had 4 clerks, as we all do, and 3 of my 4 clerks were really good skiers, and 2 of them were in Colorado because they wanted to spend some time skiing during the clerkship, and to accommodate them, we started going as a chambers up to Breckenridge, where my wife and I have a condo. And so my first group of clerks, we went up to Breckenridge. We spent a long weekend there, had a great time skiing. Well, it was such a good time. The next year, my new set of clerks came in, and we decided, well, let's do it again. And the next year, 2005, let's do it again. And the next year, 2006, do it again. So it kind of snowballed over time. In 2007, Judge Gorsuch joined our court, and he's a fantastic skier. I don't know how they find U.S. Marshals that can keep up with him, but we were friends, so I invited Judge Gorsuch and his clerks that year to join us. So it branched out into a 2-judge clerk ski weekend, and Judge Gorsuch and his clerks joined us for the next 10 years or so until he came on the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, ironically, or maybe it's a small world, one of my first ski clerks was a young lawyer named Dan Domenico. And in 2018, Dan was nominated and confirmed to the U.S. District Court for the District of Colorado. So Dan had been coming to a lot of my ski weekends, but now since he's an Article III judge, he joined the club, and it became the Tymkovich, Domenico, Gorsuch ski weekend. But I'm not done yet. Around that time also, one of my other former clerks, Patrick Bumate, a very successful young lawyer, and eventually found his way onto the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. So at that point, we had the Tymkovich, Gorsuch, Domenico, Bumate clerk ski weekend. And we've been doing it every year since 2004. I think we missed just one COVID year. You can see this, if you can see it on the camera, this is last year's logo for the everybody got a souvenir t-shirt, pull over for the clerk ski weekend. So anyway, we've been doing it for almost 20 years, and we're going to be doing it again this March.
Wow, that's an incredible legacy, and what a great tradition. I'm sure it's a great way to get to know your clerks in kind of an out of office way. I understand
Yeah,
that you have a photo. I'm sorry, keep going.
yeah. We had I think something like 60, 70 people last year. You know, it's a mini reunion every year, and I'm glad because it includes clerks from Judge Gorsuch's chambers and now the kind of the newer judges on the bench. So it's really been a great social event and a lot of fun to stay connected with friends and colleagues over the last 2 decades.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. I understand you have some photos kind of throughout this legacy of ski weekend.
Yeah, yeah, I have a few souvenirs that I'd want to show. And if the viewers can see the Tymkovich Chambers logo, which is the American bald eagle, and you can see that the eagle has skis in one paw and ski poles in the other. And if you look closely, the eagle has goggles on, and you could see that. If you could show the close-up of the coffee cups. So there we go. We got the logo on the coffee cups. I had a very talented clerk one year who dreamed up the Chambers logo, and so we have a lot of swag that I've developed over the years that include the logo. If you could show the Tymkovich 20 front side. Yeah, so there's the Tymkovich 20 rye, and if you look closely, it's an American original rye. And one of my law clerks represented a distillery in Colorado, and so for my 20th reunion, the clerk had a bottle of this Tymkovich rye made for all the attendees at the reunion. And if you can show the backside of the whiskey bottle, and there it is, got the logo, and some of those bottles were signed by my clerks that dreamed up this innovation. And could you show the wine glass? Yeah, so there's the Tymkovich wine glass for the also for the 20th reunion. I had to give souvenirs for my clerks that came. And you can see it's in front of an American flag that a clerk gave to me. That flag flew over the Baghdad U.S. Embassy in Iraq when she was the former law clerk was consulting with the Iraqi Supreme Court in the early 2010s.
Wow, incredible.
Actually, you should go to the skis also. You need to see the skis.
Yeah, these are fantastic.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to tell from that photo, but these are hanging on the wall in my chambers, and those are some custom skis that my clerks gave me as a memento last summer when we had our 20th reunion. And if you can show the Easter egg part of it. So we'll go back to the skis, but throughout those skis, which is a trail map of Breckenridge, is imposed on the skis. And then we have the names of runs have cases I've worked on and other little symbols of my tenure over the last 20 years. If you go back to the skis. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to see from this image, but that's the Breckenridge trail map. You can see the Chambers logo at the tips. And then there's like little things like a CU Law School emblem. There's a Ukrainian flag because I've done 4 outreach trips to Ukraine over the years. And there's like a run called Hobby Lobby. I think there's another one called 303 Creative, some cases that you might have heard that I worked on at the 10th Circuit.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I think there's actually a FedSoc logo somewhere on there as well.
There is a FedSoc logo. Yeah, there we are in my library. And yeah, there's a FedSoc logo on there for sure.
That's fantastic. So any intention to get bindings on those skis and shred a couple runs?
Yeah, well, I take a like a survey of the people that are watching this, whether I should do that or not. I'm torn because I hate to drill a hole in them and put bindings on it, but on the other hand, they're really good skis, and I'd really like to give them a try this season. But so far, the vote count has been don't do it. So maybe I'll buy a replica pair from the same company, and then I'll have a ski pair and a display pair.
Yeah, that might be a good approach. I mean they're beautiful on the wall, but yeah, the purist in me kind of wants to see them used.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll ski together in Utah sometime, Brecken, and I'll break them out for that.
I like that a lot. As we say, it's the greatest snow on earth. But so in my mind, both a good ski run and a good legal case or a judicial opinion is the result of years of training and a mastery of just some basic principles repeated. How do you feel about those connections? Are there other kind of connections that come to your mind when you contemplate skiing and the law?
Yeah, well, let's try to work in some skiing and the law. And I think your comment about the training is well founded. It's like a good lawyer, a good judge is going to bring on years of training, and nobody's a good skier overnight. I've had a few clerks come in that couldn't ski at all. In fact, Judge Bumate, if he's watching, he was like a total rookie, and by the end of the season, he was going down the black diamonds. He was a quick study, but skiing requires an ability to see ahead and plan a descent, usually through a fall line, which is the most efficient way down a mountain. And maybe deciding a case or strategizing for a trial, you need to find the fall line of your problem and work out the most efficient and persuasive way to get down the slope and be persuasive to a judge or a jury. But skiing also requires a lot of balance, and I think having a good life work balance is a part of being an effective advocate or jurist, because you need to not be too focused on one thing versus the others. And I was asking my clerks what they thought, and they said, if you're a good skier and a good lawyer, you pay attention to the fundamentals. You understand jurisdiction, you understand preserving errors, you understand waiver, you understand evidence. So it's that attention to detail, and the repetition of it over time, makes you a better lawyer and a better judge. And so, those are some aspects of skiing and the law that I think make sense. Now, it wouldn't be a Federalist Society conversation if we didn't talk about originalism and textualism. And so, I think, skis are like a tool that gets you down a mountain efficiently and for fun. So it has both a function and a fun part of it. So originalism and textualism, like skis, they're a tool for deciding a case. And they have both a functional aspect, which is how do you interpret a text. But they also, to me at least, they have kind of a fun aspect, and that is the part of the work where you're studying the history or context of a particular constitutional provision, or if you like grammar, reading, understand the textual piecing together of a statute. And so it seems to me that if you understand the tools of the trade and you have good support, like in skiing, you can be a better and more persuasive presenter of legal arguments.
Wow, that's fantastic and quite profound. I'm not sure, on the slopes, I'm thinking consciously about those fundamentals in the same way. But I guess maybe that's something.
When you're on the slope, you're really not thinking of much. I'm enjoying the surroundings.
Right.
Maybe you're probably a great skier. You're jumping off cliffs, right, and in the mogul run. So I don't do that anymore, but I can see you doing it.
Well, mogul runs often, cliffs less so. My wife likes to keep me a little restrained. I have acquiesced on a helmet since we've gotten married. Before
that's pretty smart. Your brain's actually worth a lot more now than it used to be. So
which is probably true. But then that's a great transition into ski gear, right? Like, you talked about enjoying your surroundings and enjoying the activity. I think that's a big part of it. But skiing isn't all comfort, right? You get itchy socks and kind of itchy helmets and boots that are awful. So is there a piece of like ski gear that you can't live without, or one that you particularly hate?
Well, Bracken, at my age, I've got all the comfortable gloves, the heated socks, the great gear, fantastic skis, good helmet, goggles that work. So the answer to that is no. But the one thing I can't live without, and I mentioned it earlier, is my condo. And it's ski in, ski out, Peak 8 and Breckenridge. And so, skiing can be a hassle if you don't have it figured out. And, having access to a great ski place has been a wonderful opportunity for me. And of course, it's led to me enjoying things with my clerks. My family has enjoyed it over the decades. And actually, a quick funny story about my condo. If there are any judges listening in, they would appreciate having to go through the Department of Justice and FBI background checks before their confirmation hearings. And I went over to this is in 2003, I went over to the DOJ to have my interview, and they're asking about all the embarrassing things and in my life and in my career. And one of the questions was, do you have an excessive amount of debt on your credit card? And literally the week before this interview, you could do this back then, but I bought my condo on my credit card. I had a Merrill Lynch credit card, and so it was six figures plus.
That's incredible.
Like $150,000 on my credit card, and they flipped out. And I thought my nomination was doomed, but I was able to get through that one.
Wow, that's exceptional. I hope you did something useful with the points. Maybe I mean, you wouldn't need a ski trip, right?
Yeah, I got a ski trip out of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, ski in, ski out is a real game changer. I came from Utah and grew up skiing at Little Cottonwood Canyon, and it's kind of famous for the awful traffic on the little 2-lane road in and out, and avalanches, and sometimes getting shut down. And they're hoping to put in a gondola up to the resorts there once they get regulatory approval. But I can't imagine.
Our court once had oral argument in Salt Lake City, and I had some good skiers that year, and we went a day early, and we drove up to Alta, and took the gondola to the snowbird gondola up to the top, and then it was snowing. It was actually like maybe 5 inches of powder, so a really good ski day, but it was snowing a little bit at the top. And I take off. I was going to show off for my clerks that year because we hadn't skied together, and I missed a snowcat track, which had like a 5-foot drop off on the end. So I go zooming down the mountain. I don't see the cliff that I'm about to ski over. I lose it in midair, do a complete yard sell. Everything falls off. My clerks are behind me, panicked that I'm not going to get up. And fortunately there was a lot of fresh snow and it was a soft landing, but they still laugh about that because I was bragging about how solid I was, and I looked like a rookie for the first couple of runs.
Yeah, well, no, I know, I don't blame you, especially on those days when there's some flurries in the air. The visibility can be hard, and I don't know. I feel like there's these new goggles that they have that kind of let you see everything. I feel a little spoiled these days because growing up, there were a lot of times when you couldn't really see the bottom when you're starting off. So that's fantastic. We were talking about kind of the importance of noticing things like the edge of a cat track. And skiing can feel a lot like a balance between kind of instinct and those conscious thoughts or those things that you notice. What role do you think intuition plays in your jurisprudence? Or does intuition play a role at all? Is that just a code word for kind of letting in your preferences?
It's the longer you do something, whether it's being a judge or being a lawyer, you're going to have your specialty areas likely. And so over time with repetition, you do develop, you might call it an intuition, but an instinct of how a case is going to pull together. And, the more briefs I read, the more cases I see, I've got a body of knowledge in so many areas. So you pick up an issue and you have kind of a sense of where it might go. But like every ski slope, it's a little bit different every time. The facts are different, the moguls are different, the groomers are different. And so like every case, you have to maybe start with your intuition. It gets you grounded. That gets you maybe the look from the top of the slope. But once you get into the case, you really have to study it. And so skiing, like deciding cases or working up a persuasive argument. For a judge or jury, takes some of the same skills, I suspect.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. You're talking about how every run is a little different. Sometimes I feel like, every write-up on the lift can be different. And just like a judge can't choose his cases, you can't always choose who you're sitting next to on the ski lift.
Yeah.
And sometimes the conversation's fantastic and you make new friends. And sometimes it's a little interesting. Do you have any like ski lift memories or fun interactions that you want to share?
Well, I don't know. It is a great place to meet people from around the world, and Breckenridge gets a big international contingent these days. I do have a couple of favorite memories. This isn't really with I didn't sit next to a celebrity, but during the pandemic, I was interested in interviewing an applicant from Notre Dame, and it was right when things started to shut down, and I go, well, we could do it by Zoom or some other way. And she goes, well, I'm gonna, we have a place in Beaver Creek, and I'm gonna be in Beaver Creek. And I go, well, great, I'm gonna be in Breckenridge. And so why don't you come over to Breckenridge and we'll do the interview, at my condo. And what we ended up doing was she brought her ski gear, and we sat at the picnic table at the hot tubs right on the slopes and started our interview. And then I wanted to ski some, so we skied down and got on the lift. And so I was finishing my clerk interview um, on the chairlift as we did a few runs. And
Wow.
yeah, she got the job. She's an excellent skier. Caroline, I'm talking about you. And another time earlier, we were up skiing. It was the week before oral argument, which is really crunch time for our prep for the cases. And I had one particularly tough case that I hadn't decided yet, but I really wanted to ski, and the clerks wanted to ski, so we went up, and based on the chairlift, we're going through the bench memo and the nuances of the case, and then we take a break and ski down the run, and then commence our case prep on the next ride up the lift. So I didn't, if you were a lawyer, maybe you would have billed that time. I guess in the judge world, maybe that'd be billable hour, since it was really productive work. And I guess the final thing I would say, I was the chair of the Judicial Resources Committee, which is one of the larger committees for the federal judiciary. And the year I started as chair, we had kind of a thorny issue involving the federal public defender system, which is part of the federal judiciary. And it so happened that the director of the federal defender program within the administrative office of the courts was going to be in Colorado skiing. And I go, great, come on over. And so we skied a half day, and it was a chance for him to lobby me on what the federal defender program thought it needed from the JRC that year, which was usually, more FTE and more funding. But it was a very productive meeting, and I think we got accomplished what I needed to get done for that particular problem that year.
That's exceptional. Wow, what a way to get things done, and an incredible clerkship interview. Were the ski skills at all like part of the evaluation, or is it?
No, being a skier is not mandatory for applying to my chambers. Most of them probably aren't. A lot of them try it when they get here, but
Yeah.
it didn't hurt in that case. I've had some good skiers over the years, ski instructors in earlier lives. 2 years ago, one of my clerks was the captain of the Dartmouth ski team, and
Wow.
he was really good. And, so we've had some good, yeah. And this the clerk interview. It was kind of funny. She had her wedding a couple months ago, and it turns out her parents had come over with her, and they dropped her off, and they were off skiing,
Yeah.
and they were riding up the chairlift, and you can actually see the picnic table where we were having our interview. And the parents just like they knew it was their daughter because of what she was wearing. They took a photo, and at the wedding they showed me this photo of us during the interview that I really hadn't realized that they had taken, and that was a funny memory.
That's amazing. For my clerkship interview, I probably spent 25 minutes thinking about what necktie I would be wearing on the Zoom
Yeah.
call. I've only got one set of ski gear, so I guess that would have decided it pretty easily. Wear the bib and the jacket, and we're ready to go.
I can neither confirm nor deny that there's Tymkovich 20 in my logo coffee cup.
That's That's what these things are for. You know, on the bottle of Timkovich 20, I noticed that it said it was made with Breckenridge snow melt. Is that just, you know, like an homage to the overall water cycle, or do you know if like clerks actually like got snow and melted it down for
My
the
clerks are talented enough to have done that, but I think that was just puffery,
yeah.
probably a consumer protection issue.
Well, you know, that it and maybe, you know, they say lawyers ruin all the fun.
Yeah,
And
and I actually I did bring one down
oh,
for the interview, but you can see it's
there you
unopened. Okay.
go. Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you know, that's obviously a great post-ski beverage. I know like ski towns are often famous for kind of their munchies, right? In Park City and a number of the kind of Utah resorts, they compete on like French fries and fry sauce, which is a very Utah thing. Is there like a particular meal you look forward to after skiing ever, or is there a Breckenridge specialty?
Breckenridge is a good food town. But my wife Sue Ann, she's a fantastic cook, and we hate to go out during the ski season because there's just too many people.
Right.
But there's a little place in Breck called John Petros, and they make the world's best calzones.
Oh yeah.
And every time I go up, at least one time I'll have calzones, and we're probably going to cater them in for the clerk ski weekend in March. So that's my go-to meal in Breckenridge.
That's awesome. A calzone it's like the perfect ski food because it's like all the best parts of pizza with just more carbs, right? Which I'm always craving after a long day of skiing. So you mentioned the interview, and you know that was one kind of fun COVID story. You know, skiing in the law and I guess tort law has kind of come to mind. There was the Gwyneth Paltrow ski incident in Park City a couple years ago, and you know sometimes now that I'm a law student, particularly on poor condition days, I find myself thinking about tort law while riding a ski lift, or you know, if I get stuck by one of the artificial snow machines for too long on a stop ski lift, I start thinking about the resort's duty of care to me, you know, their patron. Are there any kind of legal doctrines that you get distracted by while out on the slopes?
I was once stuck on a chairlift for 90 minutes on a
Oh my
pretty cold
gosh.
day, and I was thinking about my legal options during that. You know what? When we got to the top of the lift, they had all their lifties out handing out free lift tickets and vouchers for this. So they completely took away the sting of
Yeah.
the lift. So that was really that. I think that was before Vail bought Breckenridge, but it was a pretty smooth move. And over the years. I'm sure it's true for a lot of judges, especially out west. Maybe you'll see that at the Ninth Circuit, but I've had cases involving accidents up at Jackson Hole. There was a case where the skier had very serious injuries when he ran into a tree stump that was slightly covered with snow. And the issue is whether the Wyoming Recreational Liability Act would cover and provide immunity for the ski resort, which it did in that case. And we had a similar case involving, I think, Crested Butte, Colorado, the scope of the Colorado version of that immunity. And so, they're well written by, big law lawyers that know their contract and tort principles, and they're usually pretty bulletproof. We did have a case last year, which was kind of interesting. It was during COVID, and a person broke into the Keystone ski area while it was closed and rode his snowmobile around the half pipe snowboarder and terrain park. And the Forest Service caught wind of it and tracked him down, and they eventually filed misdemeanor charges against him for trespassing on the Forest Service land. And he used some of the photos from that to advertise a clothing line. And we actually ruled in part for him. And the case is up in the United States Supreme Court. The parties have sought cert in there. So, there might be a 10th Circuit, ski-oriented case that makes it to the court this year. Who knows?
Well, that's exciting. Trespass law aside, that train parks have always scared me, which is odd because like I can handle moguls just fine. But the thought of a snowmobile down a train park sounds.
Yeah, I did it once, and I was scared to death.
Yeah, I I don't know. My sisters snowboard and they're a little more comfortable, but I wonder if that's just, the cool vibes of snowboarding.
Yeah, sometimes you want to test yourself and I'm a good skier, but I'm not, the top of the class. And so I remember one time at Breck, they opened up some new terrain up in the upper bowl, and I wanted to go ski it and give it a try. The snow was good. But I couldn't talk my wife into going. She said, "You're nuts. I'm not going up there." Because you had to hike up, you had to hike up and then ski down. And so I hiked up, I skied down. There was nobody there. I was the only person that was walking. It's probably midweek. And I skied down to where I wanted to drop in. And I got to the drop-in place, and there's this enormous cornice that was at least 10 feet tall straight down. And I got to that edge, and um, I was scared to death. I couldn't do it. But the going back to the lift would be like a 300-yard hike. And that wasn't very tenable either. So I was like sitting there like trying to figure out what my options would be. Nobody was there. I assume that's because it was too dangerous for normal people to ski. And then just when I was, at my last druthers, a father and his like 18-year-old daughter came skiing up, and they looked at it also, and they were terrified. I said, okay, we're going to get out of this together. I'm going to go first, and I'll show you, if I fall, you can call ski patrol to come pick me up. And if I make it, then just do what I did. And so at that point, I just like, okay, I've got to do it. I jump in, and for anybody that skied kind of those conditions, once you get that first edge in, it wasn't super steep. Once you made the first turn, it was fine. But it was just that first leap was the one that was so terrifying.
Yeah. No, I feel like I found myself in similar situations, not really like, backcountry or having to hike to it, but on a few occasions where it's like, oh, am I sure? And then, there's invariably that, 4 or 5-year-old who's just like, launches off and like, okay, yeah, I'll be okay.
Yeah, so maybe that's kind of like picking up a new file for a case, and you've got an area of the law that you're just not quite experienced with, and you just have to jump in, take that first step, and if you're a good lawyer, you're going to be fine once you figure things out.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful advice. And I think, it goes to, I guess it kind of goes to, you've talked about balancing, bringing in work or other responsibilities while you're skiing. How do you find having kind of an outlet and a place to go is helpful to you as you think about, cases or balance generally, or, in what is, what must be a very stressful job? What does, skiing kind of present to you in that way?
Can you show the 2008 ski photo from the 2008 ski photo? Yeah, there we go. So that's probably 2006 with in the bright yellow is Judge Lucero, who's senior judge on my court, and we went up with his clerks to Beaver Creek and skied for the day. And so that's my set of clerks that year. And I think one of them is the second from my left in the white coat is now a judge on the Texas Court of Appeals. That's Jen Coy and her husband. And I'm going to go swear her in on January 10th for her new position. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, there's another legacy. She clerked for me that year, and we became friends. And here, 20 years later, I get a chance to swear her into a really important judicial position. Can you show the bobblehead?
Oh, that's great.
And everybody, you need the ski ball. So my clerks, you can see that from a couple of years ago, got me this, and it's got the skis and the poles. I'm pretty proud of that, but maybe it needed goggles also to work with the Chambers logo. But I've really kind of treasured that, and I'm sure it's going to be a collector's item someday, maybe someday soon. And I also think back to some other Federalist Society memories that involved my skiing. In the 90s, I started to ski with go on a couple ski trip with my law partners and friends. And one of my former law partners was the captain of the Harvard ski team way back in the 80s. And so he and his wife were fantastic skiers. And we started these ski trips. But when I was nominated in 2003, we were going up to Sun Valley for a trip, and I had to get all of my confirmation, nomination paperwork in. And so I'm in a car driving up to Sun Valley, working on all these documents, have my laptop open, during the hot tub hour, I'm finishing up my, all the paperwork that I had to do. But then I got sidetracked for a couple of years because of the Senate politics back then. And I had my confirmation hearing in April of February of 2003. And after my Senate hearing, they have all these follow-up questions. And Senator Feingold of Wisconsin, I think he was designated the senator that was going to torment Tymkovich that year. And so after the live hearing, then we had like 50 pages of follow-up questions. And so then that year, I think we were driving down to Crested Butte, and I'm working on answering these questions. But for those of you that are watching this, one of them even back then was basically phrased, "Are you now or have you ever been a card-carrying member of the Federalist Society?" So even in 2003, this organization was kind of in the crosshairs of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Oh, those are fantastic stories. And what a great, it's incredible that you can place yourself in locations for those stories, and that they all have something to do with skiing. I'll just remind the audience briefly that you can ask questions using the question and answer feature on Zoom. So if you're logged in to Zoom and have a question for Judge, go ahead and input that now. We'll be turning to those very briefly. So Judge, are there any other kind of stories or pieces of advice that that you would have for a law student, or encouraging stories that you'd hope we share before this wraps up?
I think I followed Judge Branch and Judge Tapar and Judge Pryor. They all had good advice based on their hobbies and interests. But skiing, as we've discussed, is a lifetime skill. You get better with repetition. For me, it gets me outside, and the older I get, the more important it is to have an athletic outdoor activity. I like to think, based on what you've heard me say, that it's a very collegial activity, the way I do. You're probably a loner and go off by yourself, but I like to ski, with a team, with a group, and it's a more social for me. And so if you've got a collegial aspect to it, that's important. I think that's like being a good lawyer. It's competitive in a good way, because it's not really about winning and losing. And even getting down the mountain you're always going to be ahead of somebody. And so it's competitive in a good way. And I think the law practice can be competitive in a good way. And, a good ski mountain has terrain for all tastes and skills. And I think a law practice can have all, not terrain, but different practice areas for all your personal tastes and skill that you're developing as a law student and then as a lawyer. So it seems to me like there's a lot of parallels there, not just parallel skiing, between this particular activity and what we do as a lawyer. And certainly it's a great outlet to, being a lawyer, being a judge can be a very stressful occupation. It is, there's no doubt about that. And to have an outlet that really takes your mind away from your everyday problems and keeps you going is important. And for me, both of I have two boys in the 30s, and they're fantastic skiers. It's a family skill that we can still do together. Even when they were rebellious teenagers, they liked to ski, and they would ski with us. And so that got us through some of those years. And now, certainly as adults, and as they have their wives and girlfriends that like to join us, it's become something that a family can do forever. So those of you that are looking for a family activity that will continue after your kids get out of college or law school, skiing's the way to go.
That's fantastic. My family's the same way. It's a generational thing. And now that I'm married, it's a great way to bond with my wife's family as well. It's a lifetime sport, and like you said, a great way to make connections. Even though sometimes once we get off the lift, I do tend to be a bit more of a loner.
Could you show the sticker? There's one last couple photos I wanted to show.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So that's the top of a couple of runs at Breckenridge, and you can see Peak 7 and then Pioneer and Peak 6, and that little logo thing in the middle of the Pioneer sign is another Chambers thing. If you can you show the enlarged version of the sticker? I did not do that. One of my clerks put that there, just in case anybody from Vail is watching. And I also saw a few of them like were pasted on the lift tower poles as we walked by. And I don't know how somebody was able to get that sticker on a lift tower, but they did. Yeah, there it is. Breckenridge, Colorado 2023. So that was a pretty fun gift.
That's awesome. Was that so? That's normally in the spring, right? The spring of 23.
Spring of 23.
Yeah. So I guess when you went back spring of this year, where the stickers.
Yeah, that's right. So it was I saw that. Yeah, that was from the.
Oh, so they kept it a year. That's incredible.
Yeah, so it lasted a year. So I haven't been up yet. I haven't been up yet this year, but I'm going to go over there maybe on Friday and check it out.
Yeah, because at Snowbird in Utah, there are a couple of those lift poles where stickers have lasted for generations. So
there may be a little too much information on there, so maybe we should worry about that. And I know we're about done, but just to finish up, my ski career has also taught me some lessons about following rules and accountability. And there was one year that we did our clerk ski weekend, and there were some judges up there and probably about 15 law clerks. And there'd been a nice snow the night before, and we were at the very top of the Imperial Bowl, and everything was just getting open. It was first run or two, and there was a little roped off area that was clearly ready to be skied. It was fresh powder, but it was still roped off, and clearly in 5 minutes time it was going to be opened. So one of the perpetrators encouraged us all to duck under the rope, which all 18 of us did, and we go skiing down the slope, and not 5 minutes later, the ski patrol finds us and makes us stop, time out, and he said, you were skiing in roped off terrain. You're not supposed to do that. Follow me. And so we go to the ski patrol hut, and there's 18 of us in a room getting a tongue lashing, and the ski patrol he says, okay, he pointed to the first of the law clerk. He says, what do you do? And she said, I'm a lawyer. And then went to the next one and said, what do you do? I'm a lawyer. And then like the next one was I think a U.S. attorney. And they said, what do you do? And she said, I'm a lawyer. And then like 2 or 3 down, there was I think somebody was like a Denver district attorney. What do you do? I'm a lawyer. And then they get to me. What do you do? I look around. I'm a lawyer too. And so anyway, all 18 of us were lawyers. We got it, they didn't take away our lift passes. They gave me a warning, don't do it again, or we'll take it away for I had a season pass, so it actually would have been a big faux pas if that happened. But anyway, we got through, and I learned a lesson, renewed lesson about accountability and following rules and paying attention to the instructions on the mountain.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I've had and take the 5th on my past interactions with ski patrol, though I've never been to the huts, so I'm intrigued to know what it's like.
Yeah, that was a highlight.
They don't seem large, so 18 people in there might be
It was the base of their on mountain restaurant, so
okay.
They had a big space for us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least that's nice if you're getting chewed out. Let's turn to some audience questions here. Sergey asks, Judge, do you use the Peak Bagger app, which I'm unaware of? And if so, what is the highest peak you've ever ascended?
I don't use that app, but I'm told that the top of Peak 8 at Breckenridge is the tallest lift, the highest lift in North America.
Oh, wow.
There might be a higher one in South America, but the top of the Imperial Bowl is the highest spot in North America. And that's really a good ski run. It's a great bowl that's wide open. It's steep, but it's really a fun run. It's probably my favorite run on the mountain.
Oh, wow. That's great. Wow. Yeah, I imagine you're up there so often that the altitude doesn't affect you much, but
the older I get, and I've had a chance to ski really all around the country, East Coast. I've not skied Europe, regrettably. I had a trip that a friend went on that I didn't make, and I'm not sure I'm going to get back there now. But I've skied Utah, Montana, most of the Colorado areas, New Mexico, Taos. There's just so many fun areas. One of my friends has a place up in Steamboat, so we go up there a lot. So it's been a great life sport for me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I guess the last question we'll ask from the audience is from Matthew, and it asks, "Did you ever get the chance to ski Berthoud Pass?"
Oh,
back in the day.
Yeah, that kind of hurts because they closed. There was a lift up there, and people still ski backcountry there. And I don't think I'm good enough to ski Berthoud to do that. Although I should say that one year I took my clerks up to Arapahoe Basin, so A Basin in Colorado, and we skied on Memorial Day.
Whoa.
So May 31st or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
that mountain always is. They have their claim to fame is that they open early and close. They're always the last one to close for the season.
Was that like because I've skied in a t-shirt before, and I've done jeans but never shorts. Was that like
Yeah, you could have that day. It was sunny. Actually, the snow was good, and I took up a grill and we grilled burgers in the parking lot. Had a tailgate at the A Basin parking lot, and it was fantastic.
That's awesome. So you just got to find the right location, and it can be a year-round activity.
Yeah.
Well, Judge, we're over time. I want to give you the opportunity to say any closing remarks if you have any, but I've really enjoyed the conversation, so thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you for being the interviewer today. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope the viewers can really understand how I got my reputation as the skiing judge. And there are a lot of good ones out there. I mentioned Gorsuch, Domenico, Bumate, Judge Hardiman's come out and skied with me, and it's really been a great opportunity to meet colleagues and develop friendships over the years. And as I mentioned, to be able to ski with law clerks from other chambers, it's really hard to meet people in a social setting where you can really get to know them and enjoy them. And so that's been like the added value for our clerk ski weekend and the things that we do. So for those of you that are watching and want to join me for a few runs, I'm going to be up there March 7th or 8th, and just let me know and I'll ski with you.
Oh, that's incredible. I would love the opportunity to do that one time, Judge. So thank you so much, Judge Timkovich, for sharing these memories and for a truly fantastic discussion. And thank you to all of you in the audience for tuning in. We're grateful you joined us. I just want to announce that next month's SOC Sidebar will feature Judge Lawrence Van Dyke of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, who will discuss physical fitness. You can register at fedsoc.org/sidebar-5, which you can see right there. And we appreciate you all joining in. Thank you and have a good night.